picture this. You're standing outside on a completely clear night.
A perfectly dark night.
Exactly. There's a chill in the air, but you barely even register it. You just tilt your head back, you look up, and you just stare.
Just taking in that absolute blanket of stars stretching out in every direction.
Yeah, and it is this entirely universal human experience. Every single one of us has done it, and every single one of us has felt that that sudden, overwhelming sense of wonder just wash over us.
Oh, absolutely.
But have you ever stopped to actually ask yourself why?
Yeah.
Like, why are we as a species so incredibly obsessed with the night sky?
It is a phenomenal question because the impulse to look up, it's woven into the very fabric of who we are.
Right.
And it goes far beyond just, a simple appreciation for a pretty view. There is a deeply ingrained mechanism at work every single time we tilt our heads back.
And exploring that exact mechanism is the entire mission of our deep dive today. We're taking a single, incredibly thought-provoking source text.
And it really is thought-provoking.
It is. It's a collection of excerpts from a piece called The Infinite Horizon, Why We Look Up. And we're going to use this text to completely unpack this timeless human obsession with the stars.
Yeah.
We have a laser-focused goal for this deep dive. We want to figure out exactly why you, me, and literally every human who has ever lived are so powerfully drawn to the sky.
And as we'll see from our source text today, the answer to that question isn't just about astronomy. And it isn't just about history either.
Oh.
It's this fascinating, complex collision of our evolutionary biology, our deepest human psychology, and ultimately our collective destiny as a species.
Wow.
Yeah. The text really challenges how we view our place in the universe. It suggests that our relationship with the stars is actually a mirror reflecting our own internal drive.
Okay, let's unpack this because the text starts by looking backward, way back.
Let's dip into history.
Right. It points out that throughout human history, this behavior of looking toward the sky, it appears again and again across completely different cultures. And the text emphasizes that this wasn't just, casual stargazing. Ancient civilizations actually went through the massive effort of building monuments perfectly aligned with stars and planetary movements.
Which is astounding.
It's wild when you stop and actually think about this staggering amount of effort that takes. It is almost incomprehensible.
The sheer magnitude of that endeavor is really worth lingering on for a second.
Yep, please.
Just relying on what the text tells us, we can deduce the level of commitment involved here. To construct a physical monument that aligns perfectly with the movement of celestial bodies, that requires an incredible dedication of time, of labor, and of rigorous observation.
You can't just throw that together in a weekend.
Exactly. We are talking about ancient peoples committing entire generations of effort to mapping the sky. Generations.
Wow.
This wasn't some minor hobby or an afterthought. This was a central organizing principle of their entire civilization. They were literally anchoring their physical world to the lights in the sky.
I mean, you have to wonder about the conversations they were having back then to justify that kind of massive public works project.
Right.
They were moving literal mountains of stone just to track a point of light.
Yes.
And the text notes, it wasn't just about building things on land either. Early navigators were using constellations to cross oceans long before any modern technology ever existed.
And wrap your head around the sheer psychological weight of being out on the open water back then.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
It is vast. It is incredibly dangerous. There are absolutely no landmarks out there, no compasses, no GPS.
Nothing.
Nothing. Your only literal map to safety and discovery is written in the stars above you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we really start to see the scientific perspective that the text outlines. We have to ask ourselves, why were those early navigators taking such massive existential risks?
Right. Why get in the boat in the first place?
Exactly. And the text provides a very specific explanation for this behavior. It calls it curiosity.
Ah, yes, curiosity.
But in this context, the source material frames curiosity as something much heavier than just a quirky human character trait. It argues that humans evolved specifically as explorers.
Which is a huge distinction.
Right. But how does the text draw a line from navigating a wooden boat across an ocean to, fundamental biological survival?
It's a big leap.
Seems pretty massive. Aren't those two vastly different concepts? The leap from, I wonder what is out there, to, this is how my species survives.
Well, the text bridges that gap by redefining how we view curiosity itself. It states that curiosity was a fundamental survival tool.
A survival tool.
Think of it as a biological imperative. If our ancient ancestors hadn't possessed that burning, relentless drive to see what was over the next hill or across that terrifyingly vast ocean, they simply wouldn't have discovered the new environments and the new resources they needed to survive and adapt.
So they would have just stagnated.
Exactly. The text argues that looking up at the stars and wondering what was out there was exercising the exact same mental muscle they used to explore the Earth. It was a mechanism for problem solving. The sky was the ultimate unknown environment, and our brains were biologically hardwired to try and understand it.
That reframes the entire concept of staring at the sky.
Oh.
It isn't passive at all.
Not at all.
It is an active biological process. And what really stands out to me here is that this evolutionary wiring hasn't gone away.
No, it's still there.
That exact same restless curiosity that drove an ancient navigator to push their boat further into the dark ocean, that is the exact same restless curiosity you feel today when you step onto your porch and look up at the night sky.
Yes. Your brain is still doing what it evolved to do.
It is looking at the ultimate unknown and trying to make sense of it, trying to map it, trying to figure out how it relates to your survival and your place in the world.
It's a continuous, unbroken thread stretching from our earliest ancestors right up to the present moment. Every time you look up, you are participating in an ancient survival strategy.
That's incredible.
But, and this is important, pure scientific curiosity and biological mapping is only one half of the equation presented in our source material.
Because if it were just about mapping resources or exercising a survival muscle, looking at the stars wouldn't carry the heavy emotional weight that it does.
Right.
It wouldn't feel the way it feels.
What's fascinating here is the text suggests the human emotional response to space hints at something much deeper than mere scientific curiosity.
A whole different layer.
Exactly. There is a profound emotional layer to this behavior that goes entirely beyond biology.
And the text gives a very specific name to that emotional layer.
Awe.
It says that looking at the stars consistently produces feelings of awe. And rather than just using it as, a buzzword, the source text leans heavily into the specific psychological definition of the term.
And the psychological definition provided in the text is incredibly nuanced. Psychologists describe awe as a state where the human mind recognizes something entirely larger than itself.
Larger than itself.
Right. It is a moment of profound, undeniable perspective shifting. You are suddenly visually confronted with a scale and a magnitude that completely dwarfs your individual existence.
Recognizing something entirely larger than yourself. The text notes a really fascinating psychological paradox that happens the exact second we experience this emotion.
It's such a strange feeling.
It is. Humans often report feeling two wildly different things simultaneously when looking at the night sky. We feel incredibly humbled, yet immensely inspired at the exact same time.
It's a beautiful contradiction. The humbling aspect naturally comes from that sudden recognition of scale. When you gaze up at an infinite horizon, your brain is forced to acknowledge how tiny you are in the grand scheme of things.
You were just a speck.
A speck. But the inspiration comes from the fact that you are a part of that vastness. You have the cognitive capacity to witness it, to think about it, to feel connected to it.
It makes me think about the feeling of standing at the edge of the ocean. You realize you are just a tiny drop in comparison to all that water, which is deeply humbling.
Very humbling.
But you also realize you are touching the water. You are a part of the entire global system of oceans. That is the inspiration part.
That's spot on.
And the text makes a point that directly impacts you, the listener, right now in your daily life. It explicitly states that in these moments of awe, our everyday concerns become smaller.
That is a crucial, tangible psychological benefit.
Definitely.
Think about the heavy weight of modern life. You have deadlines, you have social obligations, you have financial pressures. On any given Tuesday, those things can feel entirely overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
They can feel like the entire universe is pressing down on your shoulders. But when you step outside and look up, you force your brain to experience that psychological state of awe.
Yeah.
Your mind is suddenly required to process something unimaginably larger than a frustrating email or a delayed commute.
It is like the ultimate psychological reset button.
That's a great way to put it.
Your brain physically cannot hold on to the intense stress of a minor daily annoyance when it is actively trying to comprehend the sheer endless scale of a billion-year-old galaxy.
It just overrides it.
The sky just swallows those everyday concerns whole. I mean, it is genuinely hard to stay mad about a Wi-Fi outage when you are staring into infinity.
Exactly.
There is such a profound relief in feeling small in that very specific comforting way.
It acts as a necessary grounding mechanism. By looking up and allowing ourselves to feel that awe, we ironically become more grounded in our present reality.
That makes perfect sense.
The text implies we gain a much healthier perspective on the things that actually matter versus the things that just feel urgent in the moment. And this psychological reality, this deep emotional response of awe, is the bridge between the ancient ancestors we were just discussing and the modern world we live in today.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the source text takes all of this historical context. The ancient monuments, the terrifying ocean navigation, the evolutionary curiosity, the profound psychological reset of awe.
All of it.
And it brings it all crashing right into the modern era.
Yeah.
The text points out that even today, millions of people feel that exact same sense of wonder. The feeling hasn't changed at all, but our tools have changed drastically.
The tools have evolved radically. The text lists the specific modern advancements we use to interact with the sky today. We're talking about rockets, massive telescopes, satellites, complex planetary missions.
The big stuff.
Exactly. These are the modern equivalents of those ancient stone monuments we talked about earlier.
Oh, that's a brilliant comparison.
And just like those ancient monuments, these modern tools require a staggering investment of time, resources, human intellect, and capital.
We are talking about unbelievable amounts of effort here. Billions of dollars, millions of hours of intense human labor. Entirely new branches of math and physics invented just to pour into building these machines.
It's monumental.
And the source text makes a very bold, very specific claim about why we actually do this. It argues that these modern advancements, these massive rockets and delicate satellites, are not simply technological achievements.
This raises an important question. It would be very easy to look at a massive rocket launching into orbit and view it solely as an engineering triumph.
Right, just a mastery of combustion and aerodynamics.
Exactly. But if it isn't just an engineering flex, what does the text claim is actually driving this immense global effort?
The text defines the drive behind these advancements as an expression of a much deeper impulse. It says we are pouring all this effort into space exploration because we have a burning desire to understand exactly where we are and where we might go next.
Where we might go next.
Yeah. We aren't just building rockets because the math works out or because we want to prove we can build big machines. We are building them because that evolutionary curiosity and that profound hardwired need to experience awe is demanding that we find out what is actually out there.
Which brings us to the central thesis of the entire source text.
The big one.
Let's look at the complete picture the text has painted for us. We have an evolutionary biological need to explore in order to survive. We have a psychological need to experience awe to maintain our perspective.
Yeah.
We have a history of building our entire civilizations around the stars. What does all of that say about our relationship with our home planet?
This is the grand finale of the text, and it is a massive, heavy concept to sit with.
And it really is.
The text concludes by stating that looking up is not just curiosity anymore. It proposes that the act of looking up is actually the fundamental instinct of a species that inherently senses it has not yet reached its final destination.
Let's really examine the philosophical weight of that statement. Not yet reached its final destination.
It gives me chills.
It implies that humanity fundamentally is in a state of transit. Everything we have achieved on Earth, all of our history, all of our technological development might just be the preparation phase.
Just getting ready for the actual trip.
Yes. The text suggests the instinct to look at the stars is the instinct of a traveler checking a map, subconsciously anticipating the next leg of the journey.
It is like we are sitting in a house we have lived in our whole lives, slowly packing boxes and constantly looking out the window, even if we haven't fully realized on a conscious level that we are planning to move.
That's exactly it.
Our biology, our psychology, our cutting-edge technology, everything the text has outlined so far is pointing toward the idea that we are fundamentally meant to go out there.
Yes.
The ancient builders aligning stones, the navigators trusting the constellations, the rocket scientists plotting orbital trajectories, they are all acting on a shared, deeply buried instinct that Earth is our origin, but it is not our endpoint.
It recasts the entire human story, doesn't it?
It completely changes the frame.
We aren't just inhabitants of a single planet. We are a species in the incredibly long, slow process of becoming something much larger.
Right.
And that feeling of awe, that moment you step outside, look up, and feel simultaneously humbled and inspired, might actually be your subconscious recognizing that vast potential. It is your own mind sensing the incredible, terrifying distance left to travel.
So what does this all mean? We have covered some truly massive concepts today. We started this deep dive with a single mission to figure out why we are so overwhelmingly drawn to the stars, using just this one dense philosophical source text.
We've traced a remarkable journey through that text. We began with the historical evidence of our obsession. Ancient civilizations committing generations to building monuments aligned with the heavens.
And early navigators crossing unimaginably dangerous oceans, using nothing but constellations as their guide.
From there, we dug into the evolutionary biology driving that history. We unpacked the idea that curiosity isn't just a mental itch, it was a vital survival tool.
A biological imperative.
Yes. It drove early humans to map the unknown, discover new environments, and find solutions. That same hardwired curiosity is exactly what pulls your gaze upward today when you look at the night sky.
Then we transitioned into the profound psychology of awe. We explored the paradox of the mind recognizing something entirely larger than itself, a state that makes us feel simultaneously humbled by our smallness and inspired by our connection to the vastness.
And we discussed how this emotional response acts as a vital psychological reset, shrinking our crushing everyday concerns and providing immense grounding relief.
And finally, we looked at how all of this ancient history, biology, and psychology manifests right now in the modern world. The massive rockets, the telescopes, the planetary missions, they aren't just engineering trophies.
No, they aren't.
They are the physical expressions of a deeper impulse to know where we are going. They are the ultimate proof of the source text's grand thesis, that the timeless act of looking up is the fundamental instinct of a species that senses deep down in its bones that it has not yet reached its final destination.
It provides a deeply cohesive, powerful explanation for a behavior that connects every single human who has ever lived, from the earliest ancient navigator to the modern listener standing in their backyard tonight.
It truly does connect us all. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought, something for you to mull over the next time you step outside at night and tilt your head back. We just established, based on the text, that the psychological awe we feel from looking up at the sky is an evolutionary instinct signaling that Earth is not our final destination.
Right.
If that is true, how might that fundamental human emotion of awe change once we actually become a multi-planetary species?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
Once we reach that next destination.
Yeah.
And the very sky we have been looking up at for millennia completely changes depending on what planet we are standing on. What will awe feel like then? Will we still look out into the deep unknown, or will we look back at where we came from?
It is a profound mystery, and it seems we are actively building the technology and following our deepest instincts to eventually find out the answer.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking up, keep wondering, and we will catch you next time.